All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today for Introduction to Portfolio Management with Atlassian Tools. My name is Brian Darr, and I'm joined today by Michael McNeil. We are both working at Expium, and I'm a business process consultant. Michael's our managing partner. And today we're going to talk about Jira Align, advanced roadmaps, and a number of other portfolio management tools available within the Atlassian suite. So hello, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
All right, so hopping right through, let's talk about our agenda. We're gonna start with an introduction about portfolio management in Atlassian. We're going to talk about some high-level concepts. We're going to discuss in each of these tools what's new and what's next, what's coming down for the tools. Then we're going to do a high-level tool walkthrough, specifically of Jira Align and Portfolio for Jira, or I guess advanced roadmaps, as it's now called. And then we're going to have time for some Q&A at the end. We also are monitoring chat and questions and answers. So if you have questions that you just can't wait to get out, feel free to add those in there. I'm not looking at them personally, but someone's relaying them to me. So we will get around to answering your questions during this webinar. All right, so starting out, currently within the Atlassian ecosystem, there are two major tools around portfolio management. One of them, which sits at the top for a reason, is Jira Align, which is a somewhat recent acquisition by Atlassian, formerly AgileCraft. And that is a full stack top-down from the CEO down to the developer tool for managing Agile at scale within the enterprise. It's huge, and we're going to dive into it in a little bit. The other tool is Atlassian's homegrown tool, at least I don't think that was part of an acquisition, called Advanced Roadmaps, and that is formerly Portfolio for Jira. It is now available for Data Center. I'm sure you all heard the announcement that Server is going away, so we're just going to talk about Data Center. And it's also available for Jira Cloud Premium and Enterprise. It's going to be included in both of those, so you won't have to pay anything extra. And this link down here, which of course is now covered by this slide thing, there's a nice website where Atlassian does a pretty good job breaking them down from Atlassian's point of view, and we're going to do the same here during this webinar. All right, in addition to those Atlassian provided tools, there's a number of other tools within the Atlassian ecosystem that I'm sure you guys might have heard of. Structure plus Structure Gantt, Big Picture, WBS Gantt chart for Jira, Tempo Suite, and then we also have Microsoft on here for a very good reason, which we'll cover in a minute. Each of these, for some reason or another, is not necessarily what we would recommend for portfolio management within the Atlassian ecosystem. However, they all serve their purposes and work for some companies better than others. We're going to cover a little bit more about some of the pros and cons of each in a little bit. And also, if you have any questions about any of these specifically, that's great. But just off the top of my head right now, Structure provides something very similar to Portfolio for Jira. But it and Big Picture currently do not have a fully sandboxed capability, which is one of the reasons that we're not actively suggesting them. They do have some great features, though, like if you need to do individual team member capacity, Big Picture is great for that. If you want an all-in-one Swiss Army knife, Big Picture is also really good for that. They have risk analysis, they have individual capacity, they have different security levels for different users. WBS Gantt chart is another one that, if you are familiar with Microsoft Project, if you're a big fan of that, that one may feel more at home. You can do critical path analysis with that. Tempo Suite, if you're doing time tracking for all of your projects, you've probably heard of that already. Tempo timesheets, Tempo Planner, Tempo budgets. And that basically sits on top of Jira's native time tracking tools and makes much more robust reporting and, excuse me, and budgeting and forecasting functionality around that time tracking. Lastly, we talk about Microsoft because some people may have forgotten about Microsoft. We certainly haven't. They are still a massive player in this industry. Microsoft Project still dominates in the quote unquote waterfall world. And Microsoft is also a very large on-premises player. So what's interesting with the new Atlassian announcement is you can see Microsoft continuing to dominate in the on-prem environment and Atlassian getting stronger and stronger in their cloud offering. We also build integrations between Microsoft products and Jira. So if that's a need that you have, that is a totally functionable situation.
Yeah, Brian, there are many shops that are heavy Microsoft, and an integration between Jira and its tools and some of the back-end tools there are really important. So It's really good to know that that is possible.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, if you need to connect these systems, it is not a far cry. So let's talk about Jira's flagship portfolio management product called Jira Align. As I said before, this is formerly Agile Craft, which that alone should be a very telling bit of information about what the solution is about. It is designed to connect from the enterprise level all the way down to the team. So if you're familiar with SAFe or any kind of scaling framework within Agile, you start with a team, and then right above the team, you have what SAFe calls the program layer, which is a team of teams area. Next, you have the solution layer, which is totally optional, probably unnecessary unless you're building airplane fuselages. And then you have the portfolio layer where you handle budgeting decisions through a funnel process where you can do lean portfolio management, lean budgets. And then up the top, you have enterprise strategy. And Jira Align connects all of that straight down. In fact, when a developer at the team level is working on a story or a task, they can click a button and they can see all the way up to the company's mission, vision, values, if you have that appropriately set up, why they're working on that story. As far as strategy for this product goes, it works on three major axes. You've got a strategic portfolio. It also handles product management and it handles development at scale. And the whole thing sits on top of or adjacent or connected to Jira through a connector. So it is a standalone application that synchronizes very well with Jira and synchronizes now better than it did before, actually. If you consider the fact that AgileCraft and Jira used to be competitors. So now they've spent great development effort getting those to play very nicely together. Speaking of threes, this product also has three distinct hierarchies within the tool. It manages people, time, and work, which if you stop and think about how enterprise work gets done, it really happens along those three hierarchies. It also serves for cross-team and cross-functional collaboration. It provides real-time analysis, single source of truth, all the things that you would expect from an enterprise tool. And we are going to get into the tool in a little bit. I don't want to talk
And
that long about slides.
yeah, also there's also a great bridge to lean portfolio management and risk management and other things that are really important for the enterprise and operating many portfolios at scale.
Yeah, and it's all baked into the tool.
Mhm.
All right. So the positioning again for Jira Align is people that use a framework for scaled agile. It doesn't have to be SAFe, doesn't have to be Spotify model. It could be your own homegrown system as well, but basically scaled agile. And much like scaled agile, you can integrate this, of course, with your hardware teams that traditionally have longer lead times and less agility. There's no magic there. It's just about how you connect interface points between teams. And I like to think of it as one team is cycling very frequently, the other team is cycling much less frequently, and at some point they touch. This is obviously large scale for the enterprise. The pricing, the size of the tool, the install complexity all reflect that. And it is designed, as I said, for CEO down to the team members, and it is a full application. It will even handle the team level layer as well. Key features of Jira Align is it does dependency management very well. Unlike Jira, which is just this issue blocks this issue, Jira Align deals with dependencies as a conversation between two teams. So it's a three-step process of asking for something, the other team committing to it, and then the other team delivering it. And all of that involves notifications in the tool, and it shows up in multiple places so that you don't lose track of these dependencies. It also has a program board. If you're used to doing scaled agile, you're used to the spaghetti map during quarterly PI planning. The program board within Jira Align is a much more functional version of that, which we'll see in a little bit. They also have roadmaps baked into the tool. They have a strategy room where executives can get a high-level view against progress towards goals, progress towards strategic themes. They have a program room for the same concept, but down at the program / team of teams layer. So the program room handles things like dependencies at a release train level. It handles risks. You can track your risks there. It handles program objectives, and then it also has the architectural runway view within there as well. Lastly, one of the more recent things that they added is OKRs. First, they started with adding orthogonally tied objectives throughout the entire bit of software. So you can have program objectives, portfolio objectives, PI objectives. And then tied to that is numeric key results. And all that rolls up into nice, beautiful reports within the tool. Some things that are coming. The strategy room just got retooled recently. So that is a nice new way to view top-down strategy. There's a new connector to Jira that's working much better than the old one. They have added Trello integration to the tool. They've added OKRs, and there's also talk about adding AI. My guess is the AI is going to appear more as far as user functionality goes, serving up information that you need as you see it. Michael, any more thoughts on Jira Align?
Yeah, with Jira Align, the one of the things we've observed is that it replaces a lot of PowerPoint use at the enterprise level.
Yeah.
There are some of our customers that have the people with their entire job description is working with PowerPoint on a scheduled regular basis to report up to the executive suite.
I think it paid a
This
lot of
will
money to do
replace
it.
all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and then along with the baked in tools, with the baked in reports, Jira Align also has a data lake connector that allows you to connect it to, let's say, Power BI or whatever your in-house BI tool of choice is. Lastly, let's talk about implementation scale for it. It takes a pretty long time, 4 to 6 weeks on site plus two PIs or about 6 months of rollout. This involves planning, discovery, configuration. Your Jira Align partner then takes you through your first iteration, your first PI. That also involves training and then future validation. There's a whole roadmap, much like when you roll out Safe, there's a whole roadmap for rolling out Jira Align. And it always starts with a pilot team or a pilot train, I should say, in the enterprise. So a bit of a long time, totally worth it if you're running Agile at scale. All right, switching gears to talk about advanced roadmaps for a minute. So advanced roadmaps is Atlassian's internal, not acquired solution. And I think originally it was a competitor to Jira Align, but you'll see why they bought Jira Align. If you're not at the enterprise scale yet, advanced roadmaps is a really fantastic tool baked into Jira now, or will be soon within Data Center. And it's even if you're using something like Jira Align or another massive PPM tool, advanced roadmaps is still really good, not only at the portfolio level, but also the team level. Specifically, it is for growing Agile organizations that need visibility, shared focus, and accurate delivery. It allows planning visibility across multiple teams. Because of that visibility, you can keep your stakeholders informed through roadmaps that are always updated based on the data in Jira. It also allows you to align work to higher level initiatives. So Jira in the box starts with just subtask, story, epic hierarchy. And when you add Jira Align, you get when you add advanced roadmaps, you get an infinite hierarchy on top of that. So if your company operates on strategic themes and initiatives and then Jira epics, no problem. It'll build that into the tool. And lastly, it allows you to communicate a bigger picture to teams. So really, it's all about visibility. And one way that I like to think about it is, much like Jira software brought Agile boards to Jira, and Agile boards, we all know, provide a really, really excellent visualization tool for teams to understand work in progress and flight. Advanced Roadmaps provides another view that is extremely useful for communicating what's important, and it provides a future-looking view. Key features are product level roadmaps, and you can see down in this view here basically what we're talking about. You have Jira issues, and then you have a calendrical timeline roadmap Gantt view of what's going on in the future. It provides much better visualization than anything Jira offered before. It provides team level capacity planning. It's an important note. It's team level, not individual level, keeping with Agile best practices. It provides an auto scheduling feature. If you're used to Portfolio for Jira back in the day, and I say that like 3 years ago, the auto scheduler was first and foremost, and now it's kind of an afterthought. Not in a bad way, but what you see now is what you expect to see, and there's no more guessing at what the algorithm's trying to do, and when you want to apply the algorithm, you can now choose to. Lastly, this also provides advanced dependency management within Jira. Not as great as Jira Align, but it provides visibility to it within teams that will help you avoid common dependency pitfalls. So what's new and coming? Again, it is now built into Cloud Premium and Enterprise out of the box, comes with it. Also built into Data Center, coming soon. I think that's happening in the next couple months. They have added improved sprint management in the last couple months. Specifically, what that means is you can look at future sprints within advanced roadmaps now, and you can preset capacity for those future sprints. You can also anchor future sprints to future sprint dates, which you couldn't do before, which is also important for Jira Align, technically speaking. It provides team level capacity management. And one of the newer things they added recently, which is just fantastic, is a confluence macro. So you can take a custom portfolio view that has all of the errors removed, all of the warnings. It has a very tailored view for a very specific audience. And you can save that specific view configuration and then drop it into a Confluence page and then point different levels of executives at that Confluence page with all the necessary context around that roadmap, explanation, text, etc. So you basically have a curated, always updated roadmap. And speaking of PowerPoint, I think a lot of people spend a lot of important moments in the prime of their life updating roadmaps in PowerPoint. So no more.
Right. Yeah. One of the other powerful things with that Confluence macro is if you have, say 5 products across the organization, you can roll up the roadmaps for all 5 products. So it kind of gives you a lightweight way to build an enterprise-wide roadmap, and it's very effective at doing that.
Exactly. And there's nothing to say that you shouldn't use this alongside Jira Align. That's really important to know. You can use both, and actually we'd recommend that because your teams strongly benefit from this additional layer of visualization. Now, as far as rolling it out goes, you can turn it on and use it right away. However, to get the most out of it, we recommend taking kind of a 4-phased 30-day approach. Basically, you start by lining up what data goes into it, how does that data get formatted, how do we get the data in, how do we view that data, and then what decisions do we make of that data. And then typically what we do when we roll this out within a company is we work backwards from that. So we start with asking executives, asking management, what are the key decisions that you need to make with this tool? And then what do you need to see to make those key decisions? What is the data that rolls into that? And what is the shape of that data? And then we work backwards. So a lot of this is cleaning up Jira so that the data feeds the intake, feeds the view, leads to your decision. And I'm sure many of you out there have experienced Jira starts out homegrown. It gets it kind of morphs into its own special beast, and then in order to make it really useful with these advanced viewing tools, you really need to kind of clean up the weeds in Jira. So that's something that we do. It takes about 30 days. So much easier to roll out. Yeah. So really quick, just about us, and then we're gonna, and then right after this, I'm gonna hop into a tool demo. So we are a company called XPM. We are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner. That's the highest tier of solution partner. Atlassian doesn't do services themselves, so they rely on a whole network of solution partners like us to basically help you get the most out of their products. Specifically, we specialize in training, such as webinars like this, or highly hands-on workshop-based live training around Jira, Portfolio, Jira Service Desk. Basically, any product Atlassian makes, we do training on it. We also do consulting, obviously, and custom development. We have a sister company that is a full stack development shop. So as you're mentioning earlier, if you need to connect, multiple systems into and out of Jira or independent of Atlassian entirely, we've got a whole slew of developers involved in that. These are just some of the training things we offer. Jira advanced roadmaps, Confluence, Jira Service Desk. As far as consulting goes, we do custom configurations, we do business transformations. We also provide an ongoing support model. And then lastly, our sister company, Oasis Digital, does custom development, full stack, anything you need to build. Those guys are geniuses. All right, thank you for sitting through that. All right, so rounding into the demo. So why would you want portfolio management within the Atlassian ecosystem? This might seem like a silly question for this webinar, but it's good to point out all the things that you can do with these tools. So first of all, project management. I think that's why most people start using Jira, and these advanced visualization tools on top of it really add to that. Uh, Covering repetitive tasks within an organization. Obviously, that's why you use Jira workflows. Handling program management at the next layer in a scaled level. Human resources is an area that not a lot of people think about using the Atlassian ecosystem for, but all of these tools feed into basically the repetitive processes that human resources comprises.
And you have that Agile HR,
Oh yeah.
HR related webinar coming up.
Yeah, I think in about a month and a half, I'm doing basically Atlassian products for business teams. So, for example, if you're onboarding like an insurance agent, and you have multiple types of insurance agents, and that feeds into other downstream tasks of I got to get them a phone, or I need to get them terminated. Basically, how do you handle all that within Jira, a tool that you already have? So, I'll pull up. Thanks for mentioning that, Michael. I'll pull up a date on that at the end if anybody's interested. You can do capacity planning now between Jira Align and or advanced roadmaps. You can do release planning in both tools. Scaled Agile, obviously Jira Align is much more focused on Scaled Agile than advanced roadmaps, but you can build advanced roadmaps to focus on Scaled Agile. That's very important to know. Corporate initiative management. Again, you just make those extra hierarchical layers, run those through their own intake Kanban flow system. And then also M&A too. And I kind of liken that to project management, actually, just at a much larger scale.
Yeah, we had a great, while you're transitioning here, I'll just make a mention. We had a large technology sector company that was acquiring another company in Europe and was looking at ways to merge in the engineering teams. And this tool the tools were very helpful for establishing what would be the impact on the delivery schedule for their products.
Yes, I remember that. All right, so what I've done is hopped over into our demo instance of Portfolio for Jira. I'm sorry, Advanced Roadmap. Sorry, old habits die hard. And I just want to do a quick hood to trunk of this tool, and then we will repeat the same thing with Jira Align next. So what we're looking at here is a basic plan. That's the unit of operation within advanced roadmaps. Much like a board or an issue is the unit of operation within Jira. So the first thing we see here is really quite a bit of information. So just let's start with this section over here. This is called the scope section. And what I've chosen to look at within this specific view, within this specific plan, is I want to look at everything from epics on down. So I have chosen a layer in the hierarchy that I call tier 3 abstractly, which starts at epics, looks its way down within Jira. And then we can see here, obviously, I've got all the information. I've got epic and summary over here. Next, I have target start and target end date. So this is immediately new compared to the other things that you may be used to in Jira. I can decide when I would like to start and when I would like to stop this issue. And if I don't select a target start or a target end date, I can have this roll up from the most extreme values from its children within the hierarchy. So in this situation, the earliest date of all of its children is April 25th, 2020, or I can choose to set that myself. Same with target end. And then from there, we can pull in all kinds of other information too. So, status. In this particular plan, I'm not showing story points. I'm showing estimated hours. However, these plans fully support a story point view. And then I can choose which team's going to work on this, and I can bring in any bit of other information from Jira. If I've got a custom field somewhere else that I want, if I want to bring in labels or releases, not a problem. I can bring in all this information here. And this is actually kind of the first useful bit of this tool, I would say, is that you can do rapid estimation and rapid information by just hammering out cell by cell information here and just tabbing down the column. So this will help your teams estimate more. This will help your project managers do rapid data entry.
It really helps product owners to engage as well.
Yes. In addition to that, we've got basic filters here. So let's say I want to filter just on assignees, or filter on a certain sprint or a certain component. I can choose to filter on only issues in my plan that have warnings where their schedules might be potentially impacted. So lots of nice features there. All right, moving on over to this timeline view. So we're leaving the scope view, moving over to the timeline view. I can collapse the scope view here to get a better, quicker view. And what I see here now is those target start and target end dates that were back over in the field section. Those are now reflected on this calendar view over here. So I've chosen to fit everything in. I've got a very wide, time-wise plan here. But if I want, I can choose just to see 3 months or 1 year, or I can do a custom one. And my favorite is not the fixed custom time range, but a relative time range of 1 month in the past up to 3 months in the future. So here I'm always looking at what's coming in the next quarter. In addition to that, I can move items around on this timeline. So this story or this task I can drag out into a different quarter, and then obviously if I'm zoomed in more, I can move it from week to week, sprint to sprint. I can also grab these handles and I can drag and drop. And then everything that I'm doing right now is reflecting back over here in this target start and target end field. One thing to note is I've got these red handles showing up everywhere, and those are telling me that I have a dependency problem. So if I click on one of these handles, it'll show me that this issue blocks BT298, and it's got a lead time of -5 months. Obviously, that's a problem if this is a blocker. I can also choose to filter all of these dependencies down and just see the issues that are related to each other right now. I'm gonna clear my filter there. So obviously this one blocks this one, and to resolve that dependency, I just need to move this filter or this issue farther out than the other one, and then these red handles resolve themselves as now no longer in threat dependencies. All right, so other nice things that I can do within this view. I've got saved views up here. So every change that I've made, every field that I've brought in, every filter that I've applied, every hierarchy view, I can save all of that into a couple of basic views. So let's say that you have one view that you always use for a certain kind of report. No problem. Save that as report A's view. And then you have another view with other fields, but the same data, and maybe a different filter on it. You could save that as report B view. So very, very nice saving functionality there. Lastly, let's talk about the view settings. So in here, I can choose to group all of my issues by certain criterion, such as assignee, component, label. And if I choose one of the last two, sprint or team, I can group my information, and now I can see team capacity on my timeline. So let me zoom in to a 3-month view. And so what am I seeing now? Well, I have assigned these issues to Brian Team 1 or Brian Team 2. And in this situation, they're all being grouped up here under Brian Team 1. And elsewhere in the tool, I have said that Brian Team 1 has 200 weekly hours of capacity. I could alternately say they've got 200 story points of capacity per sprint. That data is actually saved over here under teams. So you see Brian Team 2 has 200 hours, Brian Team 1 has 200 hours. And again, if you're working in story points, you can work in story points instead. Also, I can choose the number of people on the team, which then decides how many concurrent issues can be done at the same time. Keeping with Agile best practices, one person working on one story at a time. So once I choose to group by team, I get these nice little progress bars, you could call them, thermometers, showing me what's going on week to week. So here I am overbooked in this week, and I can really overbook myself by expanding certain issues into certain iterations. And basically what's happening is this is taking my estimate field. So let's give myself 1,000 hours of work here. And then you see all of these blast up. And basically it is spreading up those 1,000 hours of work across all of the weeks or all of the sprints that this issue falls into. Also, just like the dates, I can do estimate roll-ups. There's a lot of nice things here. Lastly, I can also choose to color my report by certain things such as labels. So if you need to do a red, amber, green labeling for a roadmap, you can arbitrarily color things based on whatever colors you want. And the nice thing about that is you can also choose which color applies to which label you have. So G for a green label, and if you have more than one label, or if you color by component and have more than one component, for example, it will actually show multiple colors on the timeline as well. So a really nice bit of data there. Same with the rollup values. You can choose to roll up dates or not, or you can choose to roll up estimates and other things or not, or you can choose to hide warnings or not, which I recommend doing before you create the Confluence macro version of this report for your executives. They don't want to know about all of these triangles showing up. Speaking of those triangles, these are warnings that appear based on child issues or based on a problem within the plan. So this issue should have been done October 6th. It's still in to do. Hey, that's a problem. You might want to act on this. Two more features, and then we will start pivoting over to Jira Align. One of the features is the auto scheduler. So let's say that I have applied my assignees and sprint assignments and estimates and all this information, but I want to use an algorithm to take all of that into account to really decide when I can release items. So I can choose to auto schedule. I can choose which values to overwrite or not. So such as sprints, releases, or teams. So who can work on it, when it's going to be released, etc. And then I can choose to preview the results, and everything that's going to show up in a moment in blurry purple is going to be something that Jira has suggested that I change. As you can see, Jira thinks I should change a lot of stuff right now. And if I highlight over it, it'll tell me what I'm changing. And I can choose to keep those changes or not. Lastly, even though I've chosen to keep or reject those changes, you might have noticed that every time I change something here, a little green flag shows up. So if I change this estimate to something different than what was saved in Jira, I get a little flag right here. And those flags are storing up here in the top right corner under review changes. So every change that I make to this plan is currently just saved in the plan. It has not been pushed back to Jira yet. And this is one of the primary features that we like over the other add-on portfolio tools for the Atlassian ecosystem right now is this sandbox functionality. You don't want to do live editing when you're trying to plan. And then I can choose here which of these I want to keep or which of them I want to discard, and then I can choose to push all those changes back to Jira or not. So a very, very helpful tool there. That actually reminds me, all of these are showing up in green. That's because I have a scenario in this plan that is called initial scenario and is colored green. I also added another one called fire half the team, somewhat tongue-in-cheek. I hope you would never do that. And in this situation, every same data, same views, but this time all the values that I'm changing are being saved under a different flag. And after we get together and talk about each of these scenarios, we can decide which scenario to push back to Jira after our management meeting. That's a lot of information about portfolio or about advanced roadmaps. A couple other small things. If you have any releases, and let's see if I have a plan that has a release. I do, yeah. So switching to a different plan called my portfolio plan. This one starts at the initiative level, and then let me clear my filter so you can see all this. This one starts at the initial level, what I'm calling tier 2, and then goes down to epic, and then story below that. And then I've got releases on the timeline up here. So any release that I've chosen to include in this plan appears up here, and I can then choose to highlight it, which basically means show a bar all the way down on the timeline. So now I've got this on-time release showing up here. I've got another release in here that is not on time. Let's go back to fit, and it's this release. And oops, sorry, if I click on here and then go to that, there we go. Release 0.14 is off track by about 2 months. And we know that because of all of the items that are tagged with that release and their target start dates are beyond the intended release date. So Advanced Roadmaps also provides a lot of functionality around release planning. as well. You can also do something called cross-project releases, where you take all the releases in multiple projects and tie them together as one release marked on the timeline within advanced roadmaps.
Yeah, one other little thing as you're getting ready to transition to Align, is to remember that with the Confluence macro, every single you could create 25 different views here and have it show up 25 different live places in a Confluence space or page.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic way to have different slices across your data and kind of use this truly as a visualization tool, not
Yes.
as and yeah, and you can also bring that into a lot of other web integrations as well. We've done some pretty neat backend integrations with this that allow this reporting to be floated in an internal intranet type application. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of possibilities here. It's a very powerful visualization tool, and they've done a really good job over the last few years of kind of bringing together the potential that Portfolio for Jira had.
This used to be a very hard tool to use, and they did a great job fixing it when they got to 3.0. To Michael's point just now, yeah, this little randomized CRC value in a way. This will change if you change anything within the plan as far as the view goes. So every little detail you can save as a different view for a different audience. All right, pivoting over to Jira Align, and then and then after that we're gonna stop for Q&A. So this is Jira Align. This is Atlassian's separate tool, the big management tool that we talked about first. And the first thing to look at is over here on the left side in Jira Align, we have this navigation bar. And the navigation bar starts with my profile, search, favorited spaces within the tool. And then we get to the real meat and potatoes. We have the enterprise, portfolio, program, and team layers right here. If you have a solution layer, you can also add that in there administratively as well. And then down here, we also have what I wouldn't call a layer, but more of a slice. We've got the product section where you can slice across all of your information. And then there's some personal stuff down here, reports at the bottom. So anytime that you're navigating through Jira Align, you always start here on the left. And let's start with the enterprise option. And as soon as it loads, the danger of live demos. Let's see if Portfolio does this. Let me do a forced refresh on this. What I want to show you though is that within each of these layers there are that's why it logged me out. There are lots of different views, reports, settings that you can control within each of these. So within the enterprise area, I've got strategy room, strategic backlog, all the Kanban boards. I can manage company goals. I can manage brainstorming. Let's start with the strategy room. The first thing I have to do in the strategy room is pick a snapshot. That may seem counterintuitive at first. Well, isn't our strategy always our strategy? No. Strategy changes all the time, specifically year to year, hopefully. I don't know any company that survives nowadays with a 10-year plan. Obviously we have 10-year goals, but our strategy is so dynamic based on the marketplace that typically it changes every 1 to 2 years. So you would pick a given strategic snapshot. And then here what we
Plus,
see.
there are leadership changes that happen in organizations, and you
Yeah.
can compare the strategy from one administration, so to speak, to the next, and really kind of measure the impact on the overall roadmap.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually, that reminds me of kind of a side note. When you're setting up this tool, it's really important to set it up the way that the tool should be set up, which is not according to your HR hierarchy. HR hierarchies change month to month, if not year to year. Whereas if you go one layer down to your products, those change even less. And if you go one layer deeper down to your business capabilities, which is how this tool should be set up around, those things change decade to decade, maybe. All right, so in the strategy room, we have our company mission, vision, values. We have execution against outcomes. So how are our themes, epics, features working against our yearly goals, portfolio objectives, program objectives? So we see objectives creeping into the tool already. Here we see the strategic pyramid. This is the work hierarchy and the objective hierarchy rolled together. So in the lower right corner, we see the work that's done. It starts with features, which are Jira epics. But in a safe world, scaled agile framework, these are called features, and then portfolio epics sit on top of that. Um, we've got the work down here to be done. Adjacent to that, we have objectives related to that over here. And then all of that rolls up into long-term strategies, goals, North Stars, values, missions, and visions. And you can omit some of this hierarchy in the middle too. Not everybody needs that many layers deep between mission and yearly goals. Then over here, we have progress within the snapshot, how much of our themes are getting done, our epics, our features. And again, epics different in this context than Jira epics. One layer up. We then have an OKR heat map, so we can click into any of these. This we've got one portfolio objective that has key results attached to it. We've only met it by about 50%, so we're getting a 51% notation here. We have 16 program objectives, and we are doing abysmally at those, as you can see here, with only a 3% average score. And it can do this scoring because OKRs always have numeric values tied to them. And then we have an OKR tree here. So we've got the high-level corporate strategy up here. But let's go down a layer to the portfolio layer, and let's look at the portfolio backlog. So this is where we would handle lean budgets. So in this situation, we're looking at an epic backlog, and I'm going to choose a process step view. So what I'm looking at here is all of the portfolio epics that have budgets tied around them, and the Kanban process through which we're going to pull them. This one's based off of SAFe, where we start with a funnel, we then go into reviewing, analyzing, and then if I shrink my screen here, we get over to portfolio backlog and then implementation. If I click on any of these epics, we see all of the nice information tied around them. I'm going to increase my screen size again. So these are all the details about who's going to execute this epic, which programs, who the primary program is, weighted shortest job first scores per PI, because these epics obviously are going to get done across multiple PIs, t-shirt sizing per PI, related features, related acceptance criteria, related risks, related objectives. And that's just tab 1. Let's hop over to the finance tab, where we can attach all of our budgeting information to this epic. So what's the total budget? What's the total CapEx? What's the total OpEx? What's the discount rate? And you can choose to turn all this on or off. This is a very flexible interface. All the labels that we're seeing can be changed. The hierarchy names can be changed. And I'll show you at the end about that.
So, and integrations can be built to other systems, like a finance system would be a perfect integration here. There are risk management platforms, and risk can encompass everything from financial risk to dependency management. So there are a lot of pieces here that can be integrated with other enterprise systems.
Absolutely. Excuse me. All right, so now let's hop down from the portfolio layer down to the program layer. I'm going to stop in the program room. This solves a problem that I've seen with a lot of release trains, and that is that all their information, their risks, their PI objectives, they're all kind of stored everywhere, hopefully in Confluence, hopefully not on stickies somewhere. But the nice thing about the program room within Jira Align is it provides a central place for everyone to gather around. So here we have checklists for getting through a PI, working on the feature backlog, monitoring the PI, tracking progress. Over here we have saved actions, and this is all customizable. Next we have dependencies. So we have a block dependency, a not committed dependency, a committed dependency. We have current and upcoming sprints. We have our work runway. So do we have enough epics, features, and stories to work on? And then we have all of the features of the current PI living down here. This is a good moment to talk about the context bar up at the top that I've ignored until now. Right now, I'm choosing to look at all the work for the mobile program living under the digital services portfolio. I could choose a different portfolio or a different program or multiple programs over here, or I could go down to the team layer and choose just to look at a given team's work. Or over here, I could do the same thing within a hierarchical tree across the enterprise. So the context bar in almost all situations in Jira Align affects what you're seeing. Scrolling down a bit, we should have risks down here. Yeah, there we go. So so down here we've got program risks for this current PI, and these are all appropriately roamed, resolved, mitigated, etc. And then we have team load versus capacity, team progress, and that's all within the program room. Hopping over to the program board, so back to the program layer and then program board under manage. Now we hit really one of my favorite features of this software. You'll notice right away that it doesn't have the yarn strings that you do in real life, and I appreciate that because those actually really get in the way of the visualization during PI planning. So what we see here along the left side going down is all of our teams in this program, and then we see all of the sprints going across horizontally, and then intersecting teams and sprints, we have all of the features that they're working on. There's a key up here talking about what all of the colors mean. So done, not started, scheduling issues, blocked, canceled. And so all these rectangles with the checkboxes have been accepted by product management. The red ones are obviously very problematic. And the nice thing is, if you highlight over any of them, it also highlights related objects. So in this situation, these little they're not chevrons. I'm not sure what they're called. These are dependencies. So dependencies show up on the program board in the sprint that they need to get done by for the team that's supposed to be working on it. So no more forgetting about a dependency and forgetting to get it into your sprint. And you have multiple eyes on it now too, helping people remember this. And there's built-in notifications around it as well. And then up here we have team and program objectives tied to the sprints in which they should be completed. Another stop in the program layer is the roadmap function. Obviously, roadmaps are very important. And what's fun is that, here's advanced roadmaps in a tiny part of Jira Align. Different UI, of course, but same general function. Here, I'm choosing to view feature broken down by epic, but I could look at strategic themes or portfolio epics or features. And I've got progress indicators throughout this. I've got related issues and dependencies showing up. I can obviously collapse this information, click into any one of them and see how this given feature is doing. And then the state of that feature. And while we're here, this is a different view from the epic view that I showed earlier. Now we're looking at features. So we have, is this a minimal marketable feature? Is it blocked? What's the priority? Who's the primary program? What are all the stories related to it underneath? What's the weighted shortest job first? What's the t-shirt size? Target sprint, target completion, all that fun stuff. Moving right along to, program backlog. So going back to the backlog for a moment. Backlog is actually the same at all layers. It just depends on, do I want to view features or do I want to view epics or capabilities or stories? In this situation, I am looking at one type of view of the backlog, which is a standard Jira board view where I've got unassigned funnel analyzing. This is the standard Kanban view that a Jira epic or a safe feature would flow through. I can also choose to view it in a list, in a stack ranked list of everything. In this situation, all features for PI5 for the mobile program. And what's nice about this is I get a little capacity view here about points delivered. I can stack rank information here. And this pull rank feature will actually look up at the portfolio epics and the ranking that they have within this PI and say, okay, go ahead and re-rank all the features based on the parent rank. And what's nice about that is you can do that first, and then as product management say, okay, even though we know that that's what our portfolio wants us to get done first, due to logistics, we need to rearrange a couple of them down here. You can also add information to these columns as well. And if you hop into, let's say, the state view, you get a different, Kanban view. If you hop into the column view, you get these, this estimated versus actual. Now, I have very poorly estimated data in here, so my PI looks like it has 0% committed to it, and my mobile program, also looks like it has 0% committed to it. If I go to actual, though, we have a very different story. There is a ton of story points loaded into this, and clearly we are overloaded by 33%, at least within the PI. This particular mobile program, though, they're doing pretty good. They still have more capacity according to this bar.
Yeah, Brian, we
Next,
probably
okay.
need to get the questions here pretty soon, but hopefully
Yep.
folks can see. I mean, if you want to do a full demonstration of this tool, you can spend an entire workday or more
Oh my gosh, yeah.
going through it. There's a lot here. So if this is of interest, I would encourage you to reach out. We're willing to spend some time with you and help you understand the value of this tool and what it takes to actually get there.
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Two last things really quick. This is the dependency view. So we have, is it committed? And then is it done? So this three-step workflow process there. And then lastly, I wanted to show you within administration, just the customizability of this tool, platform terminology. Everything you've seen me walk through today, is a checklist really called a checklist in my organization, or is it a to-do list? Is it capability, or is it a solution functionality? So every bit of nomenclature within this tool, I can set the single and plural to it and a description and have that propagate throughout. So highly customizable. All right. Well, thank you for patiently sitting through 2 demos and a lot of information. Let's get to Q&A. So I'm looking at the Q&A. All right, related to advanced roadmaps in Jira, you get an email update of every item change if you're a viewer or a participant. If I use the auto schedule feature, playing around with dates, will that impact my colleague's email box? You are a very kind person to worry about your colleague's email, and I appreciate that a lot. No, everything that you change within an advanced roadmap plan will not go out in email. Only when you push the change will it go out. And if you're having troubles with a flood of email, we can help reduce that. One hint is just take Reporter off of the notification scheme in Jira. A trial version. I'm assuming you mean a trial version of advanced roadmaps. I'm sorry, of Jira Align. The short answer is no. There is no trial version. You pretty much have to commit to doing a pilot within your company. However, there are many partners, including us, that are happy to do more in-depth demos for you.
Mhm. Yeah, and one of the limitations around that is the complexity of the tool and how much is required to actually set it up.
Yes. Book recommendations to get more knowledge and use as a reference. Oh my gosh. I mean, you could start as far back as The Goal, looking at lean manufacturing. If you want to look more at a safe rollout, The Rollout is a great novelized book. I'm only naming novelized books right now because they help get these concepts into people really, really quick. So The Goal, The Rollout, and The Phoenix Project are all excellent novelized versions of the complex problems that everybody faces in this industry.
Mhm.
Also, if you need more book recommendations, you can always email us too. So actually, let me just hop over to the last slide while we're answering Q&A. All right. Are there, I think there's, oh, here we go. All right.
And Brian, there were a lot of questions that came in on the chat line. I
Yeah.
think it's hard to track those here with as much chat as there was on this particular webinar. We will try to get an email out to attendees with a list of answers to some of the questions that were in chat. I think that'd be the best approach.
Yeah, and actually, yeah, before I answer any more questions, you are always welcome to email me or us. If you want us, just replace Brian Dar with team@xbeam.com. We also have upcoming classes. So this is today's intro to portfolio management. We have a webinar next week or 2 weeks from now about successful cloud migration. We do a governance webinar, boot camps for Jira. This is the webinar that Michael was talking about business processes around Jira, so an agile approach to HR on December 10th. All that information's here. You can always email us for more information. And now we're going to try to get through some more questions. Is there
Yeah,
a
we
way?
also had some questions come through about certification and
Oh, yeah.
Jira Bootcamp and Confluence Bootcamp do prepare you quite a ways for that. You still need some of the personal experience, but they do certainly get you rolling towards the certification requirements.
Yeah. I've got all but one of the Atlassian certifications, and I would say that a combination of a boot camp experience and playing around a lot in a sandbox gets you 90% of the way there. Greetings. Is there a way you can reverse engineer Jira portfolio if you have a Kanban board set up for various projects but do not have portfolios set up? So if you're not using advanced roadmaps to reverse engineer advanced roadmaps, I mean, you could do it through a series of Kanban boards, but you wouldn't get the timeline roadmap view out there. So you do need the product. The product does function very well off of Kanban boards or sprint boards, or Scrum boards, I should say. So you can take any data in Jira and fit it into advanced roadmaps.
Yeah, very early on in portfolios development, there were times when we had to go down that road with customers to help them get what they needed. But now it's all in the tool, and it's far more work to try to reconstruct it than it is to just pay for the tool.
Yeah, yeah, it's very WYSIWYG right now, which is nice.
Hmm.
Let's see. Let me hop over to the chat. Oh my gosh, 41.
Yep.
Oof.
We can also get back to some of these. Some of them are pretty involved. But
Yeah.
if we do happen to miss your question, please reach out to us.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I guess I'll stop there because this is swamped. So please, if you still have questions, send us an email. I do want to give everybody a few minutes back to use the restroom before their next meeting because yeah, I know how it is right now. um, so yeah, any questions, please feel free to email me, or if you want to attend any of our other webinars or boot camps, xbm.com/events, it's all there. But thank you very, very much for attending and for your kind attention. I hope this was helpful and provided some value. And we look forward to talking to you again in the future, hopefully. Have a good day, everyone.